Очень долго я к этому шел, понимаете?
You know, just understand the fact that for me to get the opportunity to fight for the belt again, UFC made me go 3 more fights before I was able to get into the contender position again.
And once if Umar does win, we'll have Umar fight Piotr, and then we'll have you fight the winner. Give you some time.
Petr Yan's resurgence reshapes the division as he locks in on his next major bantamweight threat. Before giving his full review of UFC 323, Michael Bisping talked about how the recent results have influenced the division. He highlighted that Merab has faced tough challenges and, based on his full record, still has a strong case for another title shot. He explained that when you look at the overall consistency and level of competition, Merab remains one of the most deserving contenders moving forward.
Yes, okay, there might have been some Oscars getting handed out, maybe. Sean O'Malley beat him, and of course Merab Dvalishvili beat him as well. So there's a few people that have beaten Merab, but Merab probably deserves the rematch, if we're being honest. If you look at the body of work, then yeah, he probably does. But there's Umar Nurmagomedov out there. I would say, let Yan defend for a minute. Take a break, brother. Have a little bit of time off. You've done incredible things. You've no doubt earned a tremendous amount of money. You've represented your country at the highest level.
Bisping then shifted to Petr Yan's situation, saying the champion should take some time to rest after years of intense fights and pressure. He believed a short break would allow Yan to reset and return even better. During that period, the division can continue to move, and once Yan comes back, a matchup with another top contender like Umar could make sense. He ended by wrapping up his thoughts on UFC 323.
And you have put yourself through it. Have 3, 4, 5 months off. Rest on your laurels. Reap the rewards of your riches and your spoils, okay? Relax. Take a break. Let the body and the mind relax a little bit. Then come back and look to take your throne. And in the meantime, let Petr Yan fight Umar Nurmagomedov. Anyway, there's my thoughts on UFC 323, which just went down. I've had a crazy day today.
Before breaking down matchmaking options, MMA Guru explained how the timing of Merab's return matters. He said that if Merab chooses a quick turnaround in the coming months, the UFC could move straight into making the trilogy. Guru felt Merab's overall work justifies that opportunity, and since Yan may need recovery time after a tough title fight, booking the third meeting early would still make sense for both sides.
If Merab's looking to come back in April or May or whenever, if he's not looking to take too much time off, which maybe he won't, then I think this is absolutely a fight that can be made immediately into a trilogy. Merab has earned that, and if Yan wants to take some time, who knows if he's broken a hand or picked up any injuries or broke a foot in that matchup. You never really know what's going on. So they could immediately make this trilogy between the two of them. And I don't mind that at all. They're one apiece. Yan came up, got the belt off of Merab after his great title reign. You know, Merab is still, in my opinion, a bantamweight GOAT. Yan is now on his footsteps, in my opinion, as well. So this is a fun matchup to run back. A trilogy that everyone would be amped up for. But if Merab wants to take some time off, he fought 4 times in a year. He took a lot of damage in that fight.
Guru then shifted to the possibility that Merab may want a longer break. He noted that Merab competed unusually often for a champion and absorbed a lot of damage in his last fight. If he chooses to rest until mid-year, the UFC can still keep the division active. In that scenario, Yan could take a stay-busy fight against a rising contender like Umar, keeping momentum in the weight class while Merab recovers.
It might be in his best interest to say, you know what, I'm not really looking to come back until July or August, which would be up there with average champion in the UFC's level of activity, but not for Merab. So if he wants to just take some time off, enjoy all the work that he's done over the 2025 year that he had, then we can do Petr Yan versus Umar Nurmagomedov in the meantime. Now, of course, I'm assuming that Umar Nurmagomedov defeats Davison Figueiredo, and that fight is happening in January, and then he has Ramadan after that in February. So this could be something where Petr Yan and Umar Nurmagomedov could be fighting in April, in May. Yan's had a lot of time where, you know, Yan's probably in a position right now in his career when he thinks, man, imagine if I never need Aljo in the face, the way more millions I could have made in my career if I was just continuing my championship reign in the division.
In the final part, Guru explained that Yan might feel motivated to stay active after regaining the title. He mentioned that Yan has dealt with setbacks in previous years, so now he may want to build momentum instead of waiting on Merab. If Yan wants to return sooner, a matchup with Umar is a realistic option, especially if Umar looks strong in his next fight. Guru said this would keep the division moving and give fans a meaningful title matchup.
Rather than, messing up against Aljo, permanently being a contender after that, fighting Aljo as a contender in the rematch, and then a bunch of contender matchups and losses that maybe shouldn't have been losses, and then he runs into Merab and he's injured, as we now know, because that was a completely different looking Petr Yan. But I feel like Petr Yan might be thinking, let me get the work in. You know what I mean? I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for my belt back. Now let me go on my own spree. So if he wants to come back in April or May or June at the White House or any of those cards and doesn't want to wait for Merab, or if he has to wait for Merab and doesn't want to, you could run Petr Yan versus Umar Nurmagomedov in the meantime, because that way you would have Yan fight Nurmagomedov, sick matchup, amazing fight, everyone would look forward to it, especially if Umar looks good against Figueiredo. If Umar puts on a stinker against Figueiredo, I don't really care. You could run Yan versus Merab 3.
Before giving his thoughts on what comes next for the bantamweight division, Petr Yan spoke about how title opportunities should be earned through consistent wins. He pointed out that contenders often need to prove themselves again after a setback, especially in such a competitive weight class. That's when he explained why he believes Merab should go through the same process he once did. He said, "For me to get the opportunity to fight for the belt again, the UFC made me go 3 more fights." Furthermore, John Wood began by explaining that the UFC always makes decisions based on what works best for the business, so nothing is guaranteed, even for top contenders. He noted that while Merab has earned a title shot, timing, injuries, and other factors play a role in when it could happen. Wood also mentioned that there are multiple ways the UFC can structure matchups, meaning Merab's immediate rematch isn't certain.
I mean, listen, I've said this multiple times. The UFC is going to do what the UFC sees fit and what they feel is best for their business, and they're the best in the business at doing it. So whatever they decide is up to them. Of course, there's paths. Of course, there's visions and ways that we don't get the next title shot. Do I think that that's going to happen? I would lean to the fact that we probably will get it, but who knows? Who knows if, there's so many factors that come into play here. But do I think that Merab deserves it? Of course. Obviously, time, injuries.
He continued by highlighting that the UFC often favors certain fighters, which can speed up their path to a title shot. Despite this, Wood believes Merab will likely get his chance eventually, though he emphasized uncertainty remains due to rankings, promotion priorities, and scheduling. Overall, he stressed that while deserving, Merab's next steps depend on both performance and the UFC's broader matchmaking decisions.
There's a lot of factors that come into it of how this plays out. But there's multiple ways. The UFC has their favorites. The UFC has people that they want to push and that they love, and Sean O'Malley is one of those guys. Sean O'Malley's always one win away from a title shot, no matter how far down in the rankings. He could be unranked, go out there and knock somebody out, get a title shot probably. And that's great, good for him. He's marketed himself well and he's a great fighter. And the UFC, there's nothing wrong with being, a favorite of the UFC. That's what everybody should want to be. So do I see that there's a way that happens, that we don't get the immediate reshot? Of course. Do I think we should? Yes. Do I think we will? More than likely, but who knows?
After the recent UFC 323 event, attention is already turning to who will challenge for the bantamweight title next. Many fans and fighters are speculating about potential matchups, including top contenders ready to step up. In this context, Umar Nurmagomedov shared his reaction to the fight and hinted at when the next challenger might be confirmed. He tweeted, "Great spectacular fight. Congratulations to Peter. I think on January 24th it will become clear who is next." Adding to that, Josh Thompson began by discussing how top contenders in the bantamweight division might stay active while allowing champions some recovery time. He suggested that after the upcoming fights, winners could face each other while returning champions get a short break. Thompson emphasized careful matchmaking, explaining that selecting opponents who are competitive but manageable helps fighters rebuild momentum and prepares them for high-stakes bouts in the future.
Let's see who wins the Umar Nurmagomedov fight. And if Umar does win, We'll have Umar fight Piotr, and then we'll have you fight the winner. Give you some time. Maybe we'll give you somebody, down the rankings a little bit. Somebody that we, obviously we feel very confident. Maybe you fight Mario Batista. Something along those lines. Guy that can wrestle, guy that's got good boxing, but that's a good fight for back and forth.
Yeah.
Umar just beat him.
Or maybe a Merab Albazi. Is that his name? The one that looks like Chito
Amir
Vera?
Albazi.
He then highlighted specific possible matchups, mentioning fighters like Batista or Merab Albazi, noting their different styles make them interesting and challenging opponents. Thompson explained that regardless of the choice, fights in this division remain tough due to depth and skill levels. He concluded that these carefully chosen matchups allow champions and top contenders to stay active, gain confidence, and keep fans engaged while building toward future title fights.
Yeah, I would go with. I agree with you. It would be an interesting matchup, but I would probably go more with the Batista fight. The reason why I would go with Batista, the Batista's been looking good. Sure, he didn't get the win against Umar, but that puts him in that position where hey, no one else in this range is going to be able to beat me, and no one can. I don't think anyone. I mean, I've trained with Umar. I've seen him work. I've seen him lately work in and stuff. But it's a tough fight. No matter who fights Merab, it's a tough fight.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who it is.
Following the discussion about Merab's performances, Thomas reflected on his overall impact in the bantamweight division. He noted that defeating Merab requires exceptional focus and skill, showing how strong and consistent he has been. While there may be subtle signs of slowing down, Thomas emphasized that Merab remains a top-tier competitor, and any future rematch would still be highly challenging for his opponents.
But I don't think this changes that he certainly has the most decorated title campaign of any bantamweight. They'll probably run this back eventually. I don't know if it's going to matter at that point. I want to say, as good as Yan was, look at how good you have to be to beat Merab. You have to have an inspired performance seems inadequate. If I could be honest with you, you have to be really inspired. You have to be more than that. You have to just be fucking.
Thomas also recommended that Merab take some time to recover before returning, allowing him to maintain peak performance. Despite the recent fight's outcome, he acknowledged that Merab had a remarkable year. Resting would help him prepare for future matchups and remain competitive at the highest level. Comparing his latest performance to earlier fights can reveal how both Merab and his opponents continue to evolve.
Completely dialed in, but this person I know with some data thinks that he's slowing down. I think tonight might be some evidence of that. Certainly, I don't want to see him back that early. I would like to see him take a bit of a break before he comes back. It does unfortunately ruin what would have been a good story. If Merab had won, he would have an argument for literally one of the best years ever in MMA history. Still a very good year, even despite the unfortunate, for him anyway, consequence of how that went tonight. Let's take a look at some of these numbers, and I'm going to compare them to the first time too. All right, here's tonight's numbers. Let's take a look at this.
Following discussions about Petr Yan and Merab Dvalishvili, Long Island Luke offered his perspective on how the UFC could handle upcoming bantamweight matchups. He acknowledged that Merab deserves another title shot, but suggested that taking several months off could help him recover and prepare. Meanwhile, other contenders could step in, creating meaningful matchups that maintain activity in the division and give fans exciting fights while Merab rests.
That's very true, and I think that's honestly what they should do. Not that Merab doesn't deserve an immediate rematch, I definitely don't want to say that. It's just, I think for his sake, he should take 6 months off or whatever. And sure, champions do fight every 6 months, so Petr Yan, we might not see for 6 months. Maybe they do run it back right away. But I'm kind of with you, dude. Let's get a different matchup in there. And I know it's not a fresh matchup, but the O'Malley rematch, I think, is the most intriguing. If Song Yadong beats O'Malley, I think they just go the Umar route. Do Umar, Petr Yan. If Figgy beats Umar, which I don't think is likely, they're not running back.
Luke also explained that fan interest, fighter readiness, and recent results all influence matchmaking decisions. He mentioned that Merab enjoys staying active and highlighted scenarios where other top contenders like Aljamain Sterling or rising prospects could face Petr Yan before Merab returns. Overall, Luke emphasized the complexity of planning the next title fights and how balancing competition, recovery, and momentum is key for the bantamweight division.
Figgy and Yan, we just saw that, and Yan beat him pretty handedly. So then like Merab comes into play. I don't know. There's so many factors that could happen. But
all of a sudden, Aljo enters the chat once.
Dude, well, I mean, we could talk about featherweight and the fact. How about the fact, Dennis, that everyone would have loved if Aljo got the title shot at this point? The fact that we're getting the Lopez rematch. I mean, everyone shitting on that. It's like you would have gladly taken Aljo at this point, right? I mean, I'm not crazy for thinking that.
No, not crazy at all, my friend. And by the way, shout out to DJ Serenity now in the chat as well, also a Submission Radio member. Dude, it's gonna be insane if yeah, I mean, I think you make a good point. Like, Merab got beaten, right? At the end of the day, he got beaten. Yeah, it's gonna be insane just having to see him fight some other people before he gets this title shot. The crazy thing with Merab as well is, right, he loves to stay active.
After discussing the future of the bantamweight division and potential matchups for champions like Petr Yan and Merab, the conversation turned to fighters moving between weight classes. Aljamain Sterling addressed questions from fans about whether he would return to the lightweight or featherweight division for a potential fight with Yan, and shared his perspective on past fights and why he remains focused on competing at his current weight.
I'm like, well, if Yan comes up to 45, I fight him again. I ain't going back down to 35. I can't. I don't think I physically can. I really don't. But yeah, if he ever wanted to come up and have a fun fight, I'll be here. We could settle the rubber match. Technically, I still kind of look at that first one like it's closer to a draw. Like, I won on the technicality, but I botched that rehydration so bad, and that just was such poor form. And I looked labored. I looked tired. I looked awful in comparison to all my other fights. I'm telling you guys, this was not the real version. I'm sorry that this is the first time you see me fight in a world title fight like this. But hopefully you could go back and watch some of my other fights and realize how I've gotten here, right? So,
with UFC 323 behind us, it's clear that both Petr Yan and Merab Dvalishvili have paths that could shape the bantamweight division for months to come. Yan may take a short break to reset and plan his next move, potentially facing top contenders like Umar Nurmagomedov. Meanwhile, Merab's consistent performances still make him a strong candidate for a rematch or another high-profile fight once he recovers. The division remains competitive, dynamic, and full of exciting possibilities for fans. Who do you think should be Petr Yan's next opponent, and should Merab get an immediate rematch or take more time off first? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.